What was your "why didn't I start doing this sooner" moment? Buying quality stuff, even if it hurts my thrifty heart. Quality sheets last longer, quality pots work better, quality appliances don't fuck up as much, etc. Important to note that quality isn't always the most expensive option. Also, mangoes. I had a mango today. Fuck me for not having mangoes sooner. That mango was the shit.
I totally get that. Sometimes you just need to invest a bit more for better quality. I've done that with a few kitchen tools and it makes a difference. On the other hand, mangoes are a game changer. I remember the first time I had one. It was so juicy and sweet. Can't believe I waited so long to try it. Just makes life a bit better, you know?
Living on my own. I've always been one of those people that has gone from one serious relationship to another. I got my own flat, and a lot of things fell into place for me. Sometimes I wake up, make breakfast, and find myself smiling at how calm I feel. There's just something so free to not having to deal with anyone but yourself after an adulthood of running after other people's needs. I want to live on my own for a few more years now before deciding if I want to move in with someone. This is huge for me as I'm normally engaged and codependent. Feels_good.avi.
It's nice to hear about someone finding peace in their own space. Living alone can really change your perspective. It's like a break from the usual chaos of relationships. You start to focus on your own needs and feel more balanced. Taking your time to explore this freedom sounds wise. It's a big shift for someone used to being codependent. Enjoy the calm and see where it takes you.
Going to the dentist regularly. Old fillings failed, leaving an exposed cavity and later causing a chipped tooth. A few years later, another tooth chipped. Grinding my teeth made these teeth deteriorate. But since there wasn't any pain in them, I just dealt with it. Ended up pulling one tooth and getting the other crowned. The crown cost nearly $3,000 with a root canal. Getting a bite splint cost $320 fitted at the dentist. If I would have just went regularly, I'd have all my teeth and over $3,000 I wouldn't have spent.
It's funny how we ignore some things until they turn into bigger problems. I had a similar situation. Skipped the dentist for years and then paid the price. Chipped a few teeth and had to get a root canal. Yeah, that bill adds up fast. Just goes to show that regular checkups are worth it in the long run. Lesson learned, I guess.
Meditation. Always thought it was a hocus-pocus hippie thing. Then I read some science about it and started trying it. Changed my whole outlook on life. Now I've noticed I can focus way better on my academic studies for long periods of time. Negative thoughts bother me less, and my existential fear of dying has almost disappeared. I just wish I'd started doing it years ago instead of skeptically dismissing the entire practice.
That's interesting. It's funny how we dismiss things until we give them a chance. I had a friend who felt the same about meditation. He finally tried it during a rough patch and found it helped him a lot. Now he swears by it. It's nice to see how something so simple can shift your mindset and help you deal with daily stress. Wish more people would be open to giving it a go.
I'd usually leave clothes lying on the floor after trying to pick out an outfit and rushing out the door, so even if I clean it the night before, my mom would disapprove of how messy it is. Once, I spent the whole day trying to clean my room to the full extent just so my mom wouldn't try to clean it for me. Then I made it look real nice in terms of decor to impress a friend coming over. After he left, I wanted my other friend to see how clean it was, so I did my best to maintain it. I started putting my clothes in their proper place after trying them on instead of leaving them on the floor, as well as adjusting and dusting everything perpetually just in case she comes. She hasn't swung through yet, but since then keeping my room clean and organized has become a habit. Now whenever I come home from a long day out, it feels really good to bask in the aesthetic of my clean room. Something I've never valued before has become one of my favorite simple pleasures, TLDR. Keeping a room clean/putting away clothes after try-on equals good aesthetic vibes.
I used to be the same way, just tossing clothes around after trying things on. Then I had a friend over and felt embarrassed about the mess. I decided to clean up and make my space look decent. After that, I started keeping it organized. Now, walking into a clean room feels nice. It's funny how a small change can make a big difference in how you feel about your space.
Saying no to people. I used to make up drawn-out excuses for why I couldn't do something. I would agonize for hours before I finally worked up the nerve to call or send a text so I could bail out of something I let myself get cornered into. I practiced simple and direct no answers and then started using them. The most effective one I've found is, not this time, but ask me again another time. If I really like the idea of what they are asking but don't want to commit right then. This has always been taken well. Or, not this time, but thanks for asking has been effective as well. I no longer feel like I have to be a part of everything I'm asked to do, and I save time for the things I really care about and want to do.
I get that. I used to feel guilty saying no too. It was always easier to make excuses instead. Just keeping it real and saying something like, "Not this time, but maybe another time," really changes the game. It helps set boundaries without making anyone feel bad. Now I focus on what I really want to do, and it feels better. It's nice having that freedom to say no clearly.
When my girlfriend told me I was fat and needed to lose weight, in a nice but firm way, it was affecting my health with back problems, insomnia, etc. So I started the keto diet, and I've dropped from 280 to 235 in about 4 months. I really let myself go in college, and now I'm taking my life back.
It's interesting how a simple conversation can spark change. When my friend opened up about their weight and health issues, it hit home. They started a new diet and committed to fitness. Seeing them drop the pounds and regain confidence was motivating. It's a reminder that sometimes we need that push to prioritize our health. Small changes can lead to big results. Glad to hear you're taking control of your life.
For years, growing up, I took piano lessons but was always intrigued by the pipe organ. In late high school, I finally switched just in time to apply to music conservatory as a dual major, piano and organ. As soon as lessons began, I felt right at home and thought, why didn't I do this early on? It was a great decision, one that has made all the difference.
It's interesting how sometimes we don't realize where our passion truly lies until later. I had a similar experience with art. I spent years trying to force myself into graphic design, but when I picked up painting, everything clicked. Like you with the organ, I felt at ease and knew it was the right path. It's cool how discovering what fits can change things for the better.
First therapy session. I'm 31 and thought therapy was for people with serious problems and that I just needed to toughen up. Turns out, any problem that prevents you from feeling happy or fulfilled is a serious problem. Edit. I've never had to do this before or had this done to me. But RIP my inbox and thanks for the gold. What wonderful gilded worlds await me. Edit 2. Since a lot of people are asking, the answer is no. Not a single erection has been PM'd to me. I'm okay with that. Really.
It's interesting how we often underestimate our own issues. I get that feeling of thinking therapy isn't for us. But once you're there, it hits differently. Realizing that happiness matters, no matter how small the problem seems, can be a big deal. And yeah, inboxes can get wild, but it's cool you're taking it in stride. Finding humor in unexpected places is a solid way to handle life.
Using makeup/cosmetics. I'm a guy with a pretty bad skin, but I always thought I would be judged hard, so I was afraid to even ask my mom for help. Until a few weeks ago, she said that just something as simple as tonic and a BB/CC cream could help a lot. So I started using them, and my skin has been getting much better. I just wish I started doing it like 5 years ago when my skin started getting bad with all the puberty and shit. I was extremely self-conscious because of in high school. Now I don't care what people think. It's not fair that it's only acceptable to women to use cosmetics.
It's cool that you decided to give makeup a try. A lot of guys feel the same way, worried about judgment. Your mom gave solid advice, and it sounds like it's working out for you. It's good to hear you're feeling better about your skin and yourself. Everyone should feel comfortable improving their appearance, no matter their gender. It's just about taking care of yourself and feeling good in your own skin.
Singing in a choir. I was basically forced into it, and I had major anxiety problems, so I thought it would be a nightmare. But then I realized I was actually good at something. I started to open up more in front of people. My confidence increased so much. The entire experience just helped me improve overall. I definitely wished I did it sooner.
That's a cool story. Joining a choir when you didn't want to sounds tough. It's interesting how something that seemed daunting turned out to be a boost for your confidence. Finding out you're good at something can really change your perspective. Glad to hear it had a positive impact overall. Sometimes pushing through anxiety can lead to unexpected benefits. Sounds like a valuable experience.
D&D, or Dungeons & Dragons. It's an amazing storytelling platform for creative types and an awesome tactical tabletop game for the thinker types. Both allow for vast amounts of creativity, and it's an excellent hobby of creative escapism. I started mid-2015, and I eventually became a DM, Dungeon Master, December of that year. It's become my favorite hobby ever.
It's pretty cool how you found D&D. I started playing a couple of years back, too. The storytelling and strategy really mix well. It's a chill way to hang out with friends, and you can be whoever you want in that world. I can see why you enjoy being a DM. It must feel rewarding to guide everyone through those adventures. Definitely a great escape from reality.
Came home from a hard day's work in the hot summer outdoors. Said to brother/roommate, I'm gonna go take a shower, and he said cool, and handed me an ice-cold beer from the fridge. I looked at him like, WTF? He said, gone now. In the shower? I said. He nodded. Changed. My fucking life.
That sounds relatable. Sometimes you just need to unwind after a long day. Taking a shower while sipping on a cold drink isn't something most people think of, but it makes sense. It's like a mini escape from reality. I can see how that could change your perspective on shower time. It's those little unexpected moments that stick with you and make everyday life a bit better. Simple but effective.
Taking ADHD meds. My grades were crappy, and I felt like such a failure. Freshman year of high school, I nearly killed myself a couple of times. I knew I wasn't just stupid, and I was really trying my best, but I kept coming up short. Getting properly diagnosed and medicated changed everything. My grades shot up, and I gained just a bit of confidence and hope for my future. Things have been looking up since then. Edit, I picked a bad time to go to sleep. Sorry I haven't answered the 50 questions I've gotten yet. While you're waiting, check out /r/ADHD. They're a wonderful resource.
It sounds like you've been through a lot. Struggling with grades and feeling like a failure is tough. Getting the right diagnosis and meds can make a huge difference. It's good to hear your grades improved and that you're feeling more hopeful. That change in perspective really matters. Also, it's cool that you're pointing people towards a resource like /r/ADHD. It's good to connect with others who understand.
Guided meditation. I was under such stress starting my new business that I couldn't get to sleep at all. I approached my doctor in the hope of being prescribed Valium, but But he wouldn't do it, insisting it's a bad idea to medicate something, which isn't a medical issue. Late nights, working, and stress naturally cause sleep issues. He instead recommended guided meditation audio. I thought I'd been fobbed off, but gave it a go anyway. Holy shit. Over a year later, if I'm having trouble sleeping, I still put my headphones in, put on some guided sleep meditation, and 30 minutes later I'm so relaxed, I just fall asleep. This shit is so much better than medication. All I need is my phone, earphones, and I'm good. Instant, almost, stress relief and sleep aid.
It's interesting how stress can really mess with sleep. I remember when a friend of mine started a business too, and he faced the same issue. He tried all sorts of things to help him sleep, but nothing worked until he found guided meditation. He was skeptical at first but ended up loving it. Now, he swears by it. It's a simple fix, and it really makes a difference for him.
Buying a bidet for the toilet. Jesus, what a difference it makes in the smelly but too much toilet paper, blood streaks, poop dust on boxers, and sitting there and wiping. Best $30 ever. The savings in toilet paper alone are worth it. Cooking. I started about 4 years ago and make a bunch of dishes. Don't be afraid to try new stuff. If you are on a budget, maybe don't, but other than that, it's fun and delicious. Exercising. Another one that made a huge difference in my life. Drinking water over sugar toilet water. Seriously, water. That shit that makes up 75% of your body.
You know, I remember when I got a bidet. Didn't think much of it at first, but it really changed the game. No more issues with toilet paper or discomfort. Just makes sense. Started cooking a few years back, too. It can be a fun way to experiment, even on a budget. And yeah, exercising turned out to be key for my health. Just drinking more water has helped a lot, too. It's all pretty simple stuff.
Carrying a hanky. It sounds gross at first, I know, but folded properly you can sneeze or blow your nose in it without anything coming in contact with your pocket. You'll never blow a hole in it or have boogers on the elbow of your shirt after you sneeze. It's great in the summertime, too, to wipe the sweat from your head. And you always have a napkin for when the drive-through person doesn't give you one. Just be sure to take a fresh one each day, even if you do not use it.
I used to carry a hanky all the time. At first, I thought it was a bit weird, but it ended up being useful. I'd pull it out for sneezing or wiping sweat in the summer. Plus, whenever I'd grab food, I always had a napkin ready if I needed it. It became part of my routine. Just had to remember to switch it out daily. Simple, but effective.
I think you get a completely different experience when going out alone, especially if you're traveling. You get to do what you want when you want to do it, and you can go at your own pace. You just have to learn and not be bothered by people possibly looking at you funny because you're by yourself. I go to restaurants, movies, and concerts alone all the time. I even toured San Francisco by myself. It's really nice.
I get that. Going out alone can change everything. You have the freedom to explore without worrying about what others want. I did a similar thing when I visited a new city. Just wandered around, checked out spots on my own, had meals alone. It's refreshing, honestly. You get to enjoy your own company and take the time to soak in your surroundings. Feels good to just do your own thing.
Along those lines, I started keeping track of my spending. I would categorize what I spent money on during the previous month, mostly paying attention to non-grocery food, drinks, clothing, etc. The first month was a rude awakening to how much I was truly spending on things I didn't need. It helped me set budgets for next month's spending and ultimately helped my spending habits.
That's a smart move. Tracking spending can really open your eyes. I did something similar last year. I noticed how much I was wasting on takeout and coffee. Made a budget and started cooking more. It's surprising how little changes can make a difference. Now I feel more in control of my finances. It's nice not to stress about money as much. Just a simple shift in focus.
Same. Early 30s with not much to my name other than my savings. Asian here, so it's no big deal, but yeah. Not going hungry or broke anytime soon, but damn, I see my college classmates with houses and families, and I'm just sitting here like, WTF am I doing with my life? Not the having families part, more like the being independent part.
I get that. It's easy to feel behind when everyone else seems to be doing well. I had a friend who went through a similar phase. He had a good job but would scroll through social media, comparing himself to others. Eventually, he realized everyone's journey is different. He started focusing on his own goals instead of comparing himself to others. It helped him a lot in finding his direction.
I even wear earplugs at the movie theater. The volume is turned up way too high for me. I get that most people seem mostly deaf these days based on how loud everything is, but I can't stand loud noises. They make me nervous. Earplugs are amazing. Investing in balanced earplugs that are designed to cut decibels with the least distortion is a must.
I get that. Loud noises can be overwhelming. I used to sit in the front row during movies and regretted it every time. It's nice to have those earplugs to enjoy without all the noise getting to you. Some people don't realize how intense it can be. It's good you found something that helps you chill while watching films.
I cut out most of my friends that I played TCGS with. Realized they were doing nothing with their life and were all obese, and I was slowly heading that direction. I stopped playing TCGS, started lifting. I'm 60 pounds lighter, working and plan on going back to school soon and getting into computer hardware. But now I have no friends except for like 2 that I see once every month. Fuck you autocorrect.
It's interesting how we sometimes need a change to see things clearly. Cutting ties with those friends sounds tough, but recognizing that influence was key. Now that you've shifted focus to lifting and work, it's like you've carved out a new path. It's a bummer about losing most friends, but having even a couple you see occasionally keeps a connection alive. Good luck with school and your goals in computer hardware.
I have a 45-minute drive to work without traffic, and this is an amazing way to stay entertained in the car, especially with the amount of different podcasts there are. Literally multiple for just about any topic. And if you find ones that you like, going back from the beginning isn't a bad thing, even if it's a topical podcast.
I get that. My commute's not too long, but I always find something good to listen to. Podcasts really do cover everything. I often start new series and go back to older episodes. It makes the drive feel way shorter. There's just something about having a good conversation playing while you're on the road. Makes it feel less like a chore.
I always preach this to people that have never lived alone. They go from living with family to living with roommates or SOs and never have the living by themselves experience. It can have its lonely moments, sure, but sometimes being by yourself for a bit can help you figure out who you really are.
I can relate to that. When I moved out for the first time, it was a mix of excitement and loneliness. I had to learn to enjoy my own company. Cooking for myself, binge-watching shows without sharing the remote, and just having quiet evenings made me figure out what I really enjoy. It was an eye-opener, and I came out of it knowing myself better.
I tell everyone who is afraid of going to college at an old age that it's as close as a man will ever get to if I could go back and do it all over with what I know now. Went back when I was 28 to do my final 2 years. Everything about it is so much easier with a few years of life experience under your belt.
That's a solid perspective. Going back to college later can really change the whole experience. I started my final year at 27. Having some life lessons and real-world insights made it easier to connect with the material. Plus, you tend to take things more seriously when you've been in the grind. It's interesting how maturity shifts your approach to learning. Definitely worth it for anyone considering it.
Yeah, I hadn't been to the dentist in 5+ years before I finally caved and went. I had tooth pain on the right side of my mouth. Turned out that I needed 2 root canals and some small cavities filled. $7,000 or so later my teeth were sorted out. Needless to say, I go to the dentist regularly now and take extra good care of my teeth. So yeah, if you haven't been to the dentist lately, change that. It may be expensive, but it will only get more expensive the longer you wait.
I can relate to that. I let my dental visits slide for years too. Eventually, I had to deal with a toothache. Turns out, I had a couple of cavities. The dentist bill was pretty steep, and it made me realize skipping appointments isn't worth it. Now, I make it a point to go regularly. It's like paying a small price now instead of a huge one later.
The constant smudging of my glasses is making me consider contacts. Thing is, I have astigmatism and would have to use toric lenses. Those are more expensive, and my options for them would be a little more limited. Edit. I've had over 70 replies now, and the general consensus is that I'd have to spend about $300 to $400 a year for something that's a lot less comfortable than regular contacts. So I'm going to add that to the fuck it list.
I get the struggles with glasses. They can be a hassle, especially when they smudge all the time. I remember a friend who switched to contacts because of that. Turns out, they ended up going back to glasses because the contacts irritated their eyes. It's funny how we think things will be easier, but sometimes they just add more trouble. Sometimes sticking with what you know is the better choice.
I was the same with glasses. The doctor told me to wait on getting contacts. I spent 16 years not realizing that the world isn't blurry. Edit. Some of you guys are confused by the wording, I guess. The doctor wanted me to wait to get contacts because they thought it would be better to have me get used to wearing glasses first, which is normal.
I get that. I wore glasses for ages before getting contacts. I thought I was used to it until I switched. Suddenly, everything was clear. It's wild to realize how much you miss when your vision isn't right. That adjustment period can feel strange, but once it clicks, it's a game changer.
Anti-glare coating works. That is until you start scratching it. It's a super thin layer that can be easily damaged. At first it'll make everything better, but as soon as it starts getting scratches, it becomes so much worse than regular lenses. The problem is that it's so easy to scratch the coating that it might as well not even be there. I stopped getting the coating, and I haven't had a problem since.
I had a similar experience. Got anti-glare on my glasses thinking it would help, but then I noticed scratches showing up. At first, things looked clearer, but those scratches just messed everything up. I eventually gave up on it and chose regular lenses. It's funny how something that seemed like a good idea ended up being a hassle. Since then, no more issues. Simple works better sometimes.
I tried contacts finally once for a day. It took me 45 minutes to put them in. Then for the rest of the day, my eyes felt like when you open your eyes wide and stick your face out a moving car window, that cold feeling on the parts not normally exposed. Except it was all over my eyes. Couldn't deal it, never got better.
I can relate to that. I gave contacts a shot once, and it was a struggle. Took forever to get them in, and my eyes just wouldn't feel right. It was like having sand in them all day. I think I ended up switching back to glasses pretty quick. Sometimes comfort just wins out over the whole look thing.
How did you go about finding hobbies? That's something I struggle with. I just kind of have some things I'm doing, but I never found them. I was just always doing them. I suppose someone else once sent me that way. Whenever I think about something to do, I either dismiss it because it sounds boring or try it, and find out it is in fact pretty boring.
I can relate to that. I started a few hobbies just by chance, like gaming or drawing. A friend suggested them, and I gave them a shot, even though I thought they might not be my thing. Some were okay, but nothing really clicked until I found photography. It felt different, and I got to explore places. Sometimes it just takes trying random stuff until something sticks.
I love my therapist. It's nice to talk to someone who only wants the best for you with no ulterior motive. It's like not flushing your toilet for weeks at a time, and then you finally flush. Emotional purging. Edit. Many people brought up receiving payment as reason to keep you coming back. That is a sign of a bad therapist, and it is your right to find a new doctor if you feel that is the case. Many places offer a sliding scale and will work with you. Mental health care should not be a death sentence.
I get that. Having someone to talk to is important, especially when they have your best interests at heart. It's like getting a weight off your shoulders. If you feel like it's not working, it's totally fine to look for someone else. Finding the right fit shouldn't be a hassle. Mental health care should be accessible, not just a financial burden.
When I was in college, I came home to visit my parents. The next morning, my dad comes up to me and says, "I probably don't want to know the answer to this, but why is there a beer bottle cap in the shower?" And I replied, after a long day, "There's nothing better than a hot shower and a cold beer." About a week later, I got a text from my dad. "You were right about the hot shower and a cold beer thing. Thanks for the tip."
That's a funny story. It's interesting how our habits can influence others, even parents. The way you explained it makes total sense, though. A simple way to unwind after a long day. I can see why your dad would appreciate that. It's nice to share those moments and tips with family, sometimes in unexpected ways. Just goes to show, everyone has their own way to relax.
I constantly have this argument with people. A bargain is only a bargain if your quality/quantity to dollar ratio is going up. Harbor Freight drill bits that drill half as many holes at 1/4 the price. You're getting 2x the holes per dollar equals bargain. Generic trash bags that come 1.5x as many bags for the same price as quality bags, but half of them split all the way down the side, just trying to put them in the can. You're getting 0.75x as many trash bags per dollar equals not a bargain.
I get your point. I've had the same debates about buying tools or everyday items. Like, I once bought a cheap pack of batteries thinking I was saving money. They ran out way quicker than the branded ones. It was one of those moments where cheap doesn't mean better value. Sometimes spending a bit more really does make sense in the long run. Just gotta know what you're looking for.
Looking back, I had a decent number of friends who used me in the emotional sense. I always listened to their problems, heard them bemoan their lives and issues, but we never really talked about my life. Or at least, it was always so lopsided in their favor. Some people take as much as you offer. I stopped offering.
That's relatable. You think you're there for someone, being supportive and listening. Then you realize it's all one-sided. It's tough when you feel used emotionally without a return. Eventually, you just have to set boundaries. It's okay to step back and focus on yourself. People will only take as much as you give if you let them. It's all about finding that balance in friendships.
Glad I decided to move out onto my own. It's great at first, a whole pad to myself. Then it gets boring, because like WTF do I do? But that's the stage where I kind of getting my shit together. It's helped me out more than enough. Kind of figure out the day won't make itself, you make the day. The challenge is making the day, which teaches a whole new set of skills. That and self-discipline. I now just gotta stop eating all the ingredients before making dinner.
Moving out is a big step. It's nice to have your own space at first, but then it gets quiet. You start to think about how to fill the time. Sounds like you've used that time to figure things out, which is good. Learning to create your own routine and stick to it takes some effort. And yeah, staying away from snacking before dinner is a challenge for everyone.
I live in NYC, and I'm in a similar situation. The roommate options here are continuously dreadful as well. I'm moving to a different city because of this in the next 2 years. I can't take it anymore. I'm 32, way too old to have roommates, and I have friends in their 50s who still have them. I decided that I can't let that be me.
I get that. Finding a good roommate in a big city can be tough. It's like a never-ending cycle of weird living situations. Moving to a new city sounds like a solid plan. You want your own space and freedom, especially at 32. It's all about making choices for your peace of mind, right? It's interesting to see how some people stick with roommates way longer than others.
Please consider subscribing if you enjoyed. Love.